Hi, I'm Alex Innecco and this is ECAI's Musical Encyclopedia. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please. Today's word is symphony, which is one of the most deceiving terms in music history. Why, Alex, you may ask? It's because it's been used to describe different kinds of music throughout the centuries. To understand the concept that I'm about to talk about here, you have to be able to understand a little bit about what is Baroque, what is classical, what is romantic, okay? And we have talks here in this channel about each of these periods, okay? So you can expand your knowledge just by watching our talks, okay? Anyway, in the Baroque period, between 1600 and 1750, more or less, symphony was mainly a piece written for orchestra. First, you have to understand that what we call orchestra from the classical period on wasn't exactly the same thing in the Baroque period. It wasn't standardized, it wasn't organized as we perceive an orchestra form from the classical period of Mozart on, okay? So the orchestra could have few instruments, and that this is more like a band than an orchestra. Well, that's the problem. So the word symphony describes, for example, in the Baroque period, describes the overture to Handel's Messiah. What we call, oh, I gotta play the overture. Do you like the overture to Handel's Messiah? Well, Handel did not call it an overture. Okay, pam, param, pararam, pararam, pa-pam. This is the opening number of Handel's Messiah. What is written in the score, in the music score, Handel wrote symphony as the title of that movement. He calls it a symphony. And you're going to say, well, this is not a symphony, this is an overture, this is the opening. Well, in the Baroque period, they didn't know what a symphony was as we perceive it today. So, symphony in the Baroque period is a piece in one movement for orchestra, okay? When we start the classical movement, the classical period, then the symphony as we know today is created. It's 4 movements: fast, slow, dance, fast, okay? And what is somewhat confusing is that this scheme is based on something that was born in the Baroque period that they called a concerto. Concerto, okay? A concerto is basically, okay, it's weird to describe it this way, but a concerto is basically a symphony with a soloist, okay? The difference between a symphony and a concerto, you to say Tchaikovsky Symphony number 6 and Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto number 1. The difference is that in a piano concerto, obviously, you have a piano soloist. And in the symphony, in Tchaikovsky's 6 symphonies, you have no soloist. You have an occasional oboe here, a bassoon there, but they're not a soloist throughout the whole piece. And that is the difference between a concerto and a symphony. Why am I mentioning a concerto? Because that multi-movement scheme of fast, slow, fast was born in the Baroque period, and then it evolved into the symphony as we know it in the classical period with the addition of one movement. The concerto was fast, slow, fast in the Baroque, and in the classical period we have fast, slow, dance movement, usually a minuet, and then fast. This dance movement wasn't for you to start dancing in the concert hall. It was a stylized dance. But everybody in the classical movement, in the classical period, they would listen to that and say, oh, look, a minuet. Oh, beautiful. So that's the classical symphony. Then in the Romantic period, anything goes. You can respect the 4 movements, or you can add movements. For example, in Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique, the Fantastic Symphony, he adds the movements, 5 movements, so he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't respect fast, slow. He does whatever he wants because that is what the Romantic period is about. It expands everything. The orchestra is huge, more movements. I want more of everything, okay? And then when we get to the modern period, which is, okay, we are in the modern contemporary music, you can write whatever you want. You can say, this is my symphony, look. This is my symphony. And you're gonna say, Alex, this is not a symphony. You're just, okay, you're just making paper noise. Well, I'm the composer, and this is Alex Innecco Symphony Number 1, nicknamed Paper Noise. It's my problem. I can do whatever I want. Okay. Okay, this is a fast history of the symphony for you. Okay, complaints, you can write it down here, and I probably won't pay attention. Have you subscribed to the channel?